I'll never forget the sound of Ethan's expensive shoes clicking against the marble floor as he walked into the boardroom that day. Everyone fell silent. My brother, who hadn't shown his face at Whitmore Technologies for 5 years, now stood at the head of the table in a suit that probably cost more than what most of our employees made in a month. "Good morning, everyone," he said with that charming smile that always worked on everyone, except Dad and me. As the new CEO of Whitmore Technologies, I'd like to start by thanking Marie for keeping my seat warm. My coffee mug froze halfway to my lips. What was he talking about? I'd spent 10 years helping Dad build this company from a small startup to a tech giant worth billions. "There must be some mistake," I said, looking at Vivian, our family lawyer. Her eyes darted away from mine. Ethan slid a document across the table. "No mistake, sis. Dad's will names me as sole heir and CEO. Then he said the words that made my blood turn to ice. "You're fired, Marie. Clear out your desk by noon." Everyone stared, waiting for me to cry or scream. I did neither. Dad had taught me better than that. Just a week earlier, I had stood beside Ethan at Dad's funeral. He had his arm around my shoulder as I sobbed into a tissue. "It's gonna be okay," he'd whispered. "We'll figure this out together." I actually believed him. After years of Dad paying off Ethan's gambling debts and bailing him out of trouble, I thought losing our father might have changed him. That maybe he finally understood what family meant. How stupid I was. Dad had built Whitmore Technologies from nothing. I still remember him working from our garage, teaching me code when I was just 12. Mom had died when I was 15, and after that, it was just the 3 of us. But while I stayed to help Dad with the business, Ethan took off to find himself across Europe, only calling when he needed money. Now here he was, crying crocodile tears, accepting condolences from people who had no idea who he really was. I saw him slip his number to one of the board members, leaning in to whisper something. "Changes are coming," I overheard. The old man was stuck in the past. A chill ran down my spine. Maybe I should have known then what he was planning. Security escorted me out that afternoon. My access card stopped working before I even reached the elevator. 10 years of my life, erased with a single swipe. When I got home to my apartment, I sat in the dark for hours. The phone kept ringing. Colleagues, friends, reporters asking for comments, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. How do you explain that your own brother just stabbed you in the back? My laptop pinged with an email. Beth from IT. She'd worked with me since the beginning. The message simply said, "This isn't right. Check the attachment." It was a video from a board meeting 3 weeks ago. Ethan sitting with a few board members at a coffee shop, discussing in hushed tones. Probable planning the company's future, one that didn't include me. The timestamp made my stomach turn. Dad was in the hospital that day, fighting for his life after his heart attack, and Ethan was already planning his takeover. I picked up the framed photo of Dad and me at the company's 10-year anniversary party. "What happened?" I whispered to a smiling face. "Why would you do this to me?" Something wasn't adding up. Dad was many things, but never unfair and never a fool. That night, I dreamed of the last conversation I'd had with Dad. We were in his office late, reviewing the quarterly reports. His phone buzzed. Ethan calling from some yacht in Monaco. "Dad, I'm in a bit of a situation." Ethan's voice echoed through the speakerphone. "I need about 50,000. Just to get me through." Dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "Again, Ethan? That's the 3rd time this year. I promise I'll pay you back this time." After the call, Dad looked at me with tired eyes. "Your brother will always choose the easy path, Marie. But you build things. That's why this company will be yours someday." I woke up with tears on my pillow. If Dad had really wanted Ethan to take over, why tell me that? Later that morning, I saw the news. Ethan was gutting the R&D department, my department. Projects I'd spent years developing were being sold off to competitors. Dad's legacy was being dismantled for quick cash. Then my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Meet me at the old Parkside building, 8 p.m. Come alone." The abandoned Parkside building used to be Whitmore's first real office before we moved to the downtown tower. It was dark and dusty now, with sheets covering old furniture. I heard footsteps and turned to see Vivian emerging from the shadows, looking nothing like the confident lawyer I knew. Her hands were shaking as she clutched her bag. I shouldn't be here, she said, glancing around nervously. He'll ruin me if he finds out. Why did you ask me to come? She took a deep breath. There's another will, Marie, a real one. Your father changed it 2 months before he died. My heart started pounding. What do you mean, real one? The will Ethan presented was a very old draft, a mistake even. Your father replaced it after Ethan's last incident. The real will leaves you as majority shareholder and CEO. Her voice cracked. I should have said something, but Ethan threatened me. Threatened you with what? Vivian's face crumpled. He has proof that I helped your father cover up an illegal data acquisition years ago. I could lose my license, go to jail. She pulled out an envelope. This is a copy of the real will. The original is in a safe deposit box. I felt dizzy as I took it, seeing Dad's signature clear as day. Why didn't you come forward? I asked, anger bubbling up as I scanned the document. This is a legal will. It's notarized. Vivian sank into a dusty chair. Your father and I did something, Marie. Back when the company was struggling, we obtained competitor data through questionable means. It saved the company, but if it came out now... And Ethan found out? She nodded. He's been planning this for months. The night before your father's heart attack, they had a huge fight. Your father told him he was out of the will completely. I stared at her in shock. Are you saying Ethan might have... I don't know, she interrupted. But the timing is suspicious. Your father's last words to me were, if anything happens, Marie takes over. Promise me. She looked up with tearful eyes. I failed him. I failed you. I studied the will again. It was clear. 55% ownership to me, the rest divided among trusted board members. Ethan wasn't mentioned at all. If we reveal this now, the stock will crash, I said slowly. The company could collapse. So what do we do? I felt a cold determination settle over me. We play the long game, and we make Ethan regret ever crossing me. I didn't go public with the will right away. That would have been too obvious, too quick. Ethan would have fought it, dragged the company through a legal battle that would destroy everything Dad built. Instead, I started planning the most calculated takedown in corporate history. If we expose him now, the stock tanks and everyone loses, I explained to Vivian the next day at a quiet coffee shop far from Whitmore Tower. So you're just going to let him get away with it? She asked. No, I said, stirring my coffee. I'm going to beat him at his own game. I need information. Everything he's doing, every deal he makes, every mistake. Vivian nodded slowly. I still have access to all the legal documents. I can help. Good. And I need someone on the inside, someone Ethan wouldn't suspect. I thought of Grace, a brilliant engineer who'd started as my intern. Ethan would underestimate her because of her age and quiet demeanor. That would be his first mistake. He thinks he's won, I said, looking out at the Whitmore Tower gleaming in the distance. But Dad always said the best move in chess is the one your opponent never sees coming. Vivian actually smiled. What's your first move? I'm going to pull on threads until his whole story unravels. Grace met me at a small diner, glancing nervously over her shoulder. They've moved me to a basement office, she said. Ethan's bringing in his own engineers. He says our work is outdated. Can you access the company servers? I asked. She nodded. For now, but they're changing security protocols next week. Then we have to work fast. I need anything you can find about Ethan's plans, especially foreign deals. Grace's eyes widened. He's been having closed meetings with some Chinese investors. I thought it was just another partnership. Or he's selling our tech to the highest bidder, I said grimly. Dad would never allow that. She slid a USB drive across the table. I've been backing up files every night. Project details, emails, calendar invites. I felt a surge of hope for the first time since being kicked out. Grace, this is perfect. There's something else, she said, lowering her voice. The board's getting nervous. Ethan's spending company money like crazy. New office, private jet, parties for potential clients. People are talking. I smiled. Let's give them more to talk about. That night I started digging through years of financial records. Something had always felt off about Ethan's European adventures. Now, I knew why. They were funded by shell companies tied to Whitmore Tech. 3 weeks after my firing, I traced the money trail. Ethan had been siphoning company funds through fake consulting firms for years. Dad either never knew or was protecting him. But Ethan had gotten careless since taking over. The amounts were bigger, the paper trail messier. He was draining the company like a parasite. I called our former CFO, Jim Watson, who'd retired the day after Ethan took over. "I've been waiting for your call," he said when we met at his fishing cabin. "That kid forced me out because I asked too many questions about his spending." "I need proof, Jim," I said. "Documentation I can take to the board." He hesitated. "Marie, I've got a family. Ethan made it clear what would happen if I talked." "My father trusted you for 15 years, I reminded him. "Would he want you to stay silent while Ethan destroys everything?" Jim stared at the water for a long moment. Then he walked to a fishing chest, digging beneath the tackle to pull out a weathered ledger. "I kept copies of everything," he said. "Unauthorized transfers, fake vendors, offshore accounts. There's even a record of him trying to sell our security patents to competitors." I flipped through pages of damning evidence, remembering Dad's words. "Build clean. When you cheat, it eventually shows." "Jim," I said softly, "you just handed me the key to the kingdom. I learned that Ethan was hosting a dinner for major investors at Castello's, the fancy Italian restaurant Dad used to love. Perfect timing for a casual coincidence." I wore my most expensive dress and had my hair done professionally. The maître recognized me immediately. "Miss Whitmore, what a pleasant surprise." Heads turned as I strolled through the restaurant. I spotted Ethan at the center table, mid-laugh, champagne in hand. His smile froze when he saw me. "Marie," he recovered quickly. "What a surprise. Just having dinner with some friends." I smiled at the investors. "How lovely to see you all. I hope my brother is taking good care of the company my father and I built." One investor shifted uncomfortably. "Actually, we were just discussing the new direction." "Oh yes," I interrupted. "I heard about the deal with Zhenfu Tech. Bold move, selling our proprietary security algorithms to a foreign company." The table went silent. Ethan's face drained of color. "That's not public information," he stammered. "Isn't it? My mistake." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Ethan? The SEC might have questions about those offshore accounts, just a friendly heads up." I walked out feeling their stares burn into my back. That night, Ethan sent someone to follow me home. He was getting nervous. Good. The next morning, I met with an old friend from business school who now worked for the Wall Street Journal. I didn't give her the whole story, just enough crumbs about anonymous sources concerned about Whitmore's new leadership. The stock dropped 5% by lunchtime. Meanwhile, I'd been searching through Dad's home office, looking for anything that might explain his sudden change of heart about the will. In his desk drawer, I found a worn leather journal. The entries from his last months were revealing. Dad had been investigating Ethan's finances after discovering large withdrawals from the company. The final entry, dated just days before his heart attack, read, "Confronted E today. Worse than I thought. He's been working with competitors. Changing the will tomorrow. Marie is the only one I can trust with the company." I sank into Dad's chair, overwhelmed. He had known. He'd planned to cut Ethan out completely. And then, conveniently, he had a fatal heart attack. A text from Grace interrupted my thoughts. "Ethan's freaking out. Board called emergency meeting about stock price. He's blaming the PR team." I smiled grimly. The first cracks were showing in Ethan's facade, and I was just getting started. "Did my father have any enemies?" I asked Dr. Henderson, Dad's cardiologist, during a chance meeting at the hospital cafeteria. He looked surprised. "Besides the usual business rivals? Not that I know of. Why?" "His heart attack. Was there anything unusual about it?" Dr. Henderson hesitated. "Patient confidentiality." "Please," I said. "I'm his daughter." He sighed. "There were some anomalies in his blood work, elevated levels of compounds that shouldn't have been there. I ordered more tests, but by then, he trailed off." "What kind of compounds?" "The kind found in certain medications. Your father wasn't on any prescriptions that would cause that reaction." My hands began to shake. "Are you saying he might have been poisoned?" "I'm saying his cardiac arrest had unusual features. I noted it in his file." He paused. "The police never followed up. That night I called Vivian. I need Dad's medical records. All of them." "Marie, what's going on?" "I think Ethan might have done more than steal the company." My voice cracked. "I think he might have killed Dad." The line went silent. Then Vivian whispered, "Oh my God. Get me those records." I said, "And Vivian? Don't tell anyone what we suspect. I hung up and stared at Dad's journal. The pieces were falling into place. A chill ran through me as I realized how far Ethan might have gone for control. The story broke on a Tuesday. Troubled leadership at Whitmore Tech, insider reports of mismanagement and questionable deals. No names were mentioned, but the article detailed exactly how Ethan was gutting the back company's R&D and selling technology to foreign firms. The stock plummeted 17% in a single day. Grace texted me from inside Whitmore Tower. Total chaos. Ethan threw a chair through a glass wall. Board members are calling non-stop. I was making progress, but not fast enough. Ethan still had the power, and now he was desperate, the most dangerous combination. That afternoon, I received an email from the board secretary. Emergency board meeting, Thursday 9 a.m., regarding company direction and leadership concerns. Minutes later, another email arrived. By order of CEO Ethan Whitmore, Marie Whitmore is prohibited from entering Whitmore Tech premises or attending any company functions. He was trying to block me from the meeting, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail. The real will gave me majority ownership. I had every right to be there. I forwarded both emails to Vivian with a simple message. Time to play our trump card? Her response came quickly. Not yet. We still need more board members on our side first. Let him think he's winning. I smiled. The board meeting would be Ethan's show of force, but the final act would be mine. I spent the next day meeting secretly with board members. Marcus Chen was first. He'd been Dad's friend for 20 years. I never believed Richard would choose Ethan. He admitted as we sat in his home office. But the will seemed legitimate. I showed him the real will. His eyes widened. Ethan threatened Vivian to keep quiet, I explained. He's been planning this takeover for months. Marcus studied the document. Why haven't you gone public with this? The legal battle would devastate the company. I need board support first. He nodded slowly. What Ethan's doing, it's destroying everything your father built. The R&D cuts alone will set us back years. Help me stop him, I said. When I make my move at tomorrow's meeting, I need allies. Marcus looked at the photo on his desk, him and Dad at the company's launch party. Richard was like a brother to me. Count me in. By evening, I'd secured 3 more board members. All were disgusted by Ethan's leadership and the evidence I'd shown them. Tomorrow will be ugly, I warned Vivian over the phone. Are you ready for that? I thought about Dad, about the company we'd built together, about the brother who had betrayed us both. I was born ready, I replied. The next morning, I dressed in Dad's favorite color, navy blue. As I fastened Mom's pearl necklace, I felt their presence with me. Security tried to block me at the Whitmore Tower entrance. Miss Whitmore, you're not authorized. Check again, I said calmly, sliding across a document Vivian had prepared. As majority shareholder, I have legal right to attend all board meetings. The guard looked confused but made a call upstairs. After a tense minute, he stepped aside. The boardroom fell silent when I walked in. Ethan was mid-sentence, his face flushing red when he saw me. What is she doing here? He demanded. I specifically said, Your sister has every right to be here, Marcus interrupted. As a shareholder. Ethan's eyes narrowed. A minor shareholder has no authority to. Not minor, I corrected, taking a seat directly across from him. Majority. The room erupted in murmurs. Ethan slammed his hand on the table. This is ridiculous. Security, remove her. No one moved. The tension was electric as board members exchanged glances. They knew something big was about to happen. Marcus nodded slightly to me. 3 other board members did the same. I had my allies. It was time. Before we proceed, I said to the board, I think we should discuss my father's true vision for Whitmore Technologies. I opened my laptop, projecting a document on the screen. Dad's plans for Whitmore Future Initiative, an ambitious project combining ethical AI with sustainable technology. This was Dad's passion project, I explained. He believed tech companies had a responsibility to build systems that helped humanity, not just generated profits. Several board members nodded in recognition. Dad had shared these ideas with them. And yet, I continued, under my brother's brief leadership, this initiative has been scrapped, the R&D team dismantled, proprietary technology sold to the highest bidder. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. That project was a money pit. I'm making necessary business decisions. By selling our security algorithms to foreign competitors? I challenged. By funneling company money into personal accounts? His face darkened. Those are baseless accusations, I smiled coldly. Nothing I say is baseless, Ethan. Unlike you, I have proof of everything. The atmosphere in the room changed. Several board members sat straighter, seeing the shift in power happening before their eyes. You have no authority here, Ethan hissed, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, I replied, according to Dad's real will, I have all the authority I need. I met privately with the 3 biggest shareholders that afternoon in Marcus's office. They'd requested to see all my evidence before publicly backing me. I laid it out methodically, financial records showing Ethan's embezzlement, emails revealing the foreign technology sales, Dad's journal entries detailing his plan to remove Ethan from the company, and finally, the real will. Why would your father hide this will? Asked Janet Wong, our largest outside investor. He didn't, I explained. Ethan threatened our family lawyer to keep it buried. The investors exchanged looks. Howard Benson, a veteran venture capitalist, leaned forward. If what you're saying is true, Marie, we'll support you, but you need to go public with the will immediately. The company can't continue with this cloud hanging over it. You'll face legal challenges, warned the third investor. Ethan won't go quietly. I thought about all I'd learned in the past weeks, about Ethan's desperation, about how far he might have gone to seize control. I'm prepared for that, I said. The question is, are you with me? They looked at each other, then back at me. Janet nodded first, then Howard, then the third. We represent 40% of the shares, Howard said, combined with your 51% from the real will. I allowed myself a small smile. Ethan doesn't stand a chance. Tomorrow, then, Janet confirmed. We make it official. I was walking to my car in the underground parking garage when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to find Ethan stepping out from between 2 cars. You think you're so clever, he snarled, his usual charm completely gone. Turning the board against me? Digging up ancient history? It's over, Ethan, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. The investors know everything. The real will comes out tomorrow. He moved closer, and I noticed with alarm how unsteady he seemed. His eyes were bloodshot, his expensive suit wrinkled. You have no idea what I've sacrificed to get here, he hissed. What I've done. Dad never appreciated me. Never saw my potential, just like you. Dad saw exactly who you were, I replied, reaching slowly into my pocket for my phone. That's why he changed his will. Something dangerous flashed in Ethan's eyes. You don't know anything. I know about the heart medication, Ethan. The compounds in Dad's bloodstream that Dr. Henderson couldn't explain. His face went blank with shock. Then he lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You little... I was ready. My phone was already recording, capturing his admission and now his assault. I twisted away, backing toward the elevator. It's all being recorded, Ethan. Everything you say, everything you do. It's over. His face crumpled as he realized he'd been trapped. In that moment, he looked pathetically small. I sent the video to Vivian before I even reached my car. The next morning dawned bright and clear. I felt strangely calm as I dressed for the most important day of my professional life. Then my phone rang. It was Marcus, his voice urgent. Marie, something's happening. Ethan's called an emergency board vote to approve a merger with Tectonics Inc. They're meeting in 20 minutes. My blood ran cold. Tectonics was a notorious corporate raider that stripped companies for parts. If they acquired Whitmore Tech, everything would be sold off. He's trying to burn it all down before we can stop him, I realized aloud. We need to block this, now. I called Vivian immediately. Can we get an injunction? On what grounds? Fraud. Breach of fiduciary duty. The fact that he's not the rightful CEO. Vivian paused. I'd need a judge to hear us immediately. Make it happen, I urged. I'll stall the board meeting. I rushed to the courthouse while Vivian pulled strings with a judge she knew. Meanwhile, I texted Grace, delay the meeting any way you can. Fire alarm, IT problems, anything. Grace came through brilliantly. As I later learned, she accidentally crashed the building's entire network, forcing a meeting postponement. By afternoon, we had our injunction. All company decisions were frozen pending an emergency leadership review. Ethan had played his final card and lost. The shareholders' meeting was set for Monday morning. The business world was buzzing with rumors about the conflict at Whitmore Technologies. I arrived early, heart pounding as I entered the grand conference room. Board members and major investors were already seated, an air of tense expectation filling the space. At precisely 9 a.m., Ethan strode in, flanked by two lawyers. His face was a mask of confidence, but I could see the strain around his eyes. "Thank you all for coming," he began smoothly. "I know there have been some concerning rumors lately. I want to assure everyone that Whitmore Technologies is stronger than ever under my leadership." Murmurs rippled through the room. Ethan continued his rehearsed speech about vision and necessary changes, while I waited patiently for my moment. When he finished, Marcus spoke up. "Before we continue, there's an urgent matter regarding company leadership that must be addressed." All eyes turned to me as I stood. The click of my heels echoed in the sudden silence as I walked to the front of the room, folder in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest, "what I'm about to share will change everything you think you know about Whitmore Technologies." I placed the folder on the table and looked directly at Ethan. "Let the record show that I, Marie Whitmore, am the rightful CEO of this company." The room exploded with voices as I revealed the true will, Dad's journal, and the financial evidence of Ethan's betrayal. I laid it out piece by piece, my voice growing stronger with each revelation. In the 2 months since taking control, Ethan Whitmore has embezzled over $12 million, sold proprietary technology to foreign competitors, and systematically dismantled the R&D department that was the heart of this company. Ethan's lawyers whispered urgently to him, but he sat frozen, his face pale. When I finished presenting the evidence, the room fell silent. Then Marcus stood up, followed by Janet and Howard. "I move to reinstate Marie Whitmore as CEO, effective immediately," Marcus announced. "Seconded," said Janet. "All in favor?" Howard asked. Hands rose around the table. 7, 8, 9, a clear majority. Only Ethan and his two closest allies kept their hands down. "Motion carried," Howard declared. Security appeared at the door. A board member I didn't know whispered something, and the guards moved toward Ethan. "This is ridiculous," Ethan sputtered. "You can't just—" "Mr. Whitmore," said the head of security, "I need to escort you from the building." As Ethan was led away, his access card was deactivated mid-swipe, just like mine had been, all those weeks ago. The circle was complete. My first week back as CEO was a whirlwind. I worked 18-hour days, meeting with department heads, reassuring nervous employees, and handling a flood of media inquiries. My first official acts were symbolic but important. I rehired every member of the R&D team Ethan had fired, moved back into Dad's old office, and launched an internal audit of everything that had happened under Ethan's brief reign. The stock began to recover as confidence in the company returned. Articles appeared with headlines like "Whitmore Tech, the Phoenix Rises," and "Sisters Triumph, How Marie Whitmore Reclaimed Her Father's Legacy." On Friday afternoon, I gathered the executive team in the boardroom where I'd been humiliated weeks before. "Whitmore Technologies was built on innovation and integrity," I told them. "My father believed in creating technology that made the world better, not just more profitable. Today, we return to that vision." I unveiled plans for the Whitmore Future Initiative, Dad's dream project, now expanded and upgraded. A comprehensive plan to develop AI systems that prioritized ethics and sustainability. As the team applauded, I felt Dad's presence in the room, his hand on my shoulder. I'd not only reclaimed his company, I was carrying his vision forward. That night, I finally allowed myself to cry, not from sadness, but from relief and vindication. 3 months later, we launched our first major product under my leadership, an AI system called RW, named for Richard Whitmore. Unlike competitive systems focused solely on profit generation, RW was designed with ethical safeguards and environmental considerations at its core. It helped businesses reduce waste, optimize energy usage, and make decisions that balanced profit with social responsibility. The launch event was packed with tech journalists, industry leaders, and investors. I stood on stage in front of a massive screen displaying our new slogan, "Technology with Purpose." My father believed that the greatest innovations come from asking not just "Can we do this?" but "Should we do this?" I told the crowd. RW is built on that principle, that technological advancement and human values can and must coexist. The demonstration drew gasps and applause. Pre-orders flooded in before I even left the stage. The stock jumped 11% by closing bell. Grace, now heading our core development team, hugged me after the presentation. "Your dad would be so proud," she whispered. I looked around at the excited faces of our team, the company we'd saved together, and felt something my father often spoke about: the satisfaction of building something that matters. "This is just the beginning," I promised them. The trial was ugly. Ethan faced federal charges for fraud, embezzlement, and corporate espionage. The evidence was overwhelming. I testified on the second day, laying out the pattern of deception and manipulation. As I spoke, I looked directly at my brother, searching for any sign of the boy I'd grown up with, the one who'd shown me how to ride a bike and defended me from bullies in elementary school. All I saw was a stranger, hollow-eyed and bitter. The medical evidence regarding Dad's death was inconclusive, not enough to bring charges, but enough to raise serious questions. Ethan maintained his innocence on that count, and part of me hoped he was telling the truth. I couldn't bear the alternative. After the verdict came in, guilty on all charges, I visited Ethan in holding before sentencing. We sat across from each other, separated by a table and years of broken trust. "Why?" I asked simply. "Why did you hate us so much?" He looked up, his handsome face haggard. "I never hated you. I hated being invisible next to you, Dad's perfect daughter, the genius, the heir apparent." "You chose to leave," I reminded him. "I chose to find my own path," he snapped. Then quieter, "But there was never going to be room for me at Whitmore, not with you there. So you tried to burn it all down." He met my eyes. "I wanted to prove I could run it better than either of you." I stood to leave, suddenly exhausted. "Dad built something that mattered, Ethan, and you tried to destroy it for your ego." "Marie," he called as I walked away. I paused but didn't turn. "I never touched his medication," he said softly. "I swear." I nodded once, then left, knowing I'd never be back. 1 year to the day after Ethan fired me, I stood in the gleaming lobby of Whitmore Tower, watching employees stream in for work. The company had not just recovered, it was thriving. RW had become an industry standard. Our stock had tripled. A young intern approached, clipboard clutched nervously to her chest. "Miss Whitmore, I just wanted to say thank you for the mentorship program. It's changing my life." I smiled, remembering how Dad had mentored me. "What's your name?" "Zoe. I'm studying AI ethics. I wrote my thesis on your RW system." We chatted for a few minutes about her work. As she turned to leave, she hesitated. "Is it true what they say, that your brother stole the company and you took it back?" The question caught me off guard. So much had happened, so much pain and vindication and growth. "No," I said finally, "I didn't take it back." I looked up at the company logo, my father's initials woven into the design. "I earned it." Zoe smiled, understanding lighting up her face. She walked away with a new confidence in her step. I turned toward the elevators, ready for another day of building my father's legacy. My legacy now. The board meeting would start in 20 minutes, where we'd review plans for global expansion. My assistant had already texted that investors were excited about our new projects. Behind my desk hung a simple framed photo, Dad and me in the original garage office, surrounded by computer parts, both of us smiling with grease-stained hands. Below it, a small brass plaque with words Dad used to say, "Build something that matters." Every day, that's exactly what I did. Not because I was trying to prove anything to Ethan or anyone else, but because building things that mattered was in my blood. It's who I was always meant to be. Dad knew that all along, and now so did everyone else.